This week, lawyers of Abby Grossberg, the former Fox News booker who was suing Tucker Carlson, confirmed to me that Grossberg never actually met the former network anchor while working for Fox News, saying, quote, Abby never met Tucker Carlson in person because he taped the show from his personal studios in Maine and Florida. I was kind of, I guess, surprised at this because it seems like an obvious admission that might hurt the case, because Abby Grossberg's only mention of Tucker in the lawsuit as being to blame for the supposed sexist and hostile workplace she encountered was this claim that Tucker was somehow directing this or encouraging this. And I think that's kind of a hard thing to determine if you're not actually working in the same office with the man.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there certainly can be abusive behavior. I'm certainly not saying that's the case in this situation, but you can abuse somebody virtually. I mean, the way we work is so different now, post-pandemic. You know, we live in a Zoom era. You certainly can mistreat somebody that works for you from a distance. I don't know that that's the case. And from what I saw in the interview, I believe it was on MSNBC with Abby Grossberg, I got to say, it didn't leave me like super convinced. Now, again, as we've already stated, have, you know, some sort of tangential relationship with Tucker, and we're friendly. It's not even tangential. I'll just say we're friendly. So I don't want to sit here and throw him under the bus. And I certainly want to give Abby Grossberg her due, give her the opportunity to say what she has to say in court. But from what I saw in her interview, I came away very unconvinced that she's going to be able to make a strong case. Now, there are 34 hours of tape?
Yeah, she has 90 tapes spanning 34 hours, I think they said.
I mean, so we don't know. We haven't heard the highlights from those tapes. We haven't heard Tucker's voice or any of the other people who are named in that. So we'll see if that shows something that maybe she did not discuss. Maybe she's holding back because she's waiting for her day in court, or for her day in some sort of arbitration to get a big settlement. So we'll see where that goes. But
yeah,
from
and
her
I did
interview,
ask the lawyers about that, by the way. I asked if they had any recordings that included Tucker's voice, and they said that they were still reviewing the audio tapes. But I know that in the lawsuit itself, there are never any accusations that Tucker said any of the things that she took issue with. It's more that she believes that he was setting the tone for the show, which again is like hard to determine when you're all working in separate locations. Like, it's one thing if somebody says something to you over text or over Zoom that you find abusive or belittling or sexist. It's another to kind of determine intent or motivation when you're remote from people. One of the other things that the lawyer said in the statement was that it was normal for staff of Tucker to not meet him. So this was not unusual that Abby never met him. Based on people that I've spoken to who are former Fox staff, that's not accurate. They said that basically every person that ever works on Tucker Carlson Tonight is flown down to Florida or up to Maine at some point to meet Tucker and work on set. And the reason that she was not is because it was determined pretty quickly after she started working there that this was not a good fit with the show. Right. And so they didn't really feel like she was going to last that long due to some early performance issues that were becoming evident.
So the other question is that this lawsuit is against Fox News. It's not necessarily directly against Tucker.
It does name Tucker as a co-defendant.
Okay.
And then some of the producers on the show.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting. And then she also talks in the lawsuit about her time working on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. And she says that she experienced a sexist and hostile workplace environment there too, but it wasn't from Maria, it was from her coworkers. And the reason she transferred to Tucker Carlson Tonight was to try to get away from it, and then she feels like she just ended up experiencing more of the same.
Well, if she wasn't a good fit and she was able to be transferred within the company, why didn't they transfer her to another show?
Right, and producers are transferred all the time at Fox. Like, if you ask to be transferred, they'll move you. It's pretty common, so I agree with that. I want to get to this statement that the lawyer sent to me and Greg Price, another person with journalistic experience who has been talking about this story, because it's fairly unhinged, to be perfectly honest with you. I was reaching out for a follow-up story, and I get this email with Greg CC'd, and the subject line is press inquiries from the MAGA Twitter sphere. And then when you go through, it's this sort of really long rant that talks about how Tucker and his producers were sexist brothers in arms. It refers to them as Tweedledee and Tweedledum male colleagues. And then at the very end warns that you have to print the statement in full or you will be lying, which is a big no-no for journalists. And I just got to say, if I were the person paying however much money to have this person represent me in a lawsuit against arguably the biggest media company in the United States, if not the world, I would be kind of troubled by this reaction. Yeah,
that's not the kind of email that you want your lawyer sending. I mean, sometimes we have to tell ourselves not to press send, right? Because I know I've had situations where I have not wanted to, deal with a situation, or I've wanted to say something and I'm like, all right, no, I'm not going to send that email. Yeah. And it sounds like he probably wants that one back. But here's what Abby Grossberg's lawyer had to say on Tucker Carlson's exit from Fox News.
We had rather preliminary and attenuated discussions from last week over the weekend to see whether we could resolve our dispute with Fox. I do know that about 10 minutes after Fox essentially stiff-armed us and said they didn't want to have any further discussions, we heard the news that Mr. Carlson was fired. And Mr. Carlson does play prominently in our lawsuit in the Southern District of New York, where we allege a very toxic and frankly disgusting work environment that included all sorts of misogynistic and anti-Semitic comments.
Yeah, so I saw in an interview with Abby Grossman where she detailed what she thought was anti-Semitic. And, I was really intent on watching that part and seeing what it was. And it really didn't have the bite that I was expecting. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I don't think it's for me to gauge what's anti-Semitic and what's not. But the fact that I had to question it, I think that there are many people on a jury that would probably question it as well. So there better be some really strong evidence on those tapes that we're not hearing right now, because the way she and her lawyers are kind of laying this thing out, it doesn't seem to have the same bite. Now, we know Fox News and any other corporation, they'd rather settle with you than go through a long process and a long legal fight. So she may get paid before she gets her day in court. It's not going to be like Dominion numbers, but I think they probably want this to go away, and I think they're probably going to toss something her way to get this.
Yeah, I felt the same way about the sexism allegations, because one of the prominent examples that's being used in the media reports on the lawsuit is that when she first started working at Tucker Carlson Tonight out of the Manhattan office, she found that they had these pictures of Nancy Pelosi in like the bathing suit while she was in Italy up on the walls, and it was kind of like a joke. And I feel like a lot of people on social media had kind of a similar reaction when that photo came out. Everybody was kind of poking fun and teasing. And so the idea that that was indicative of this like larger sexist workplace just didn't ring true to me. I didn't really buy that.
Can I just say, Nancy Pelosi looks fantastic.
I know, and that was kind of like what people were talking about. They were like, all right, this 80-year-old woman is like getting it done.
Yo, let me tell you, if my wife looks like that at 80,
you're in good shape. So
we're doing all right. Yeah.
The fact that was mentioned in the lawsuit, I thought was a little strange, but I think we're gonna obviously be hearing more about this story. I've been talking to other people behind the scenes, hopefully have some more information coming out. But yeah, I mean, Fox is, of course, going to be probably looking to get this out of the spotlight as quickly as possible.
I think they're thinking more about Smartmatic and dealing with that situation than they are with this. And I think they probably want to throw some sort of number that, and Fox, again, we know they are gigantic. They have tons of money. They're going to throw something at her and hope that she accepts it and doesn't try to go to court.
Yeah. That does it for us. Jason, it was so nice sharing the desk with you today.
Absolutely.
Tune in next week. Robbie will be back with guest host Jessica Burbank, filling in for Brianna while she is on vacation. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon on Rising.